I'm hunting anime bitches.
My Deer Friend Nokotan is the most recent anime that people on Twitter checked out because they saw a cute anime girl in it and it looked funny. It follows the main title character, Noko Shikanoko, a deer-human hybrid with undisclosed magical powers, and her straight woman, Koshitantan, a former delinquent turned high school student council member. The two form the Deer Club, a club that's meant to take care of deer, but in actuality, in typical slice of life fashion, only exists as a backdrop for the character's wacky hijinks. The show got a pretty hyped release, with everyone online talking about it as though it's going to be the funniest anime of the year, and an absurdist comedy on par with anime like Nichijou and Pop Team Epic. That begs the question, did it stick the landing? Well, in my opinion,
I mean, it's alright.
Now, don't get it twisted. This show had its moments for me. I mean, I sat through all of it, willingly, I might add. I wouldn't do that if I didn't like the show in some capacity. However, in spite of the advertisements doing a great job of convincing me and many others that this show was going to be a 10, it's more like a 5. Why though? Well, I could go into a full 40-minute bread tube deep dive on this series as a whole, like the Caucasian that I am, and explain all the issues I had with the show, like, for example, the sister character. Nasty bitch. But I thought it would be a more interesting idea to go into Nokotan's comedy, its main selling point. Characters, plot, music, animation, none of that matters if the goal of the show is to make you laugh. A goal in which Nokotan sometimes succeeds in achieving, while other times just missing the mark or sometimes completely whiffing entirely. So that's what this video is about. What's happening? It's your boy Dity. Welcome back to Dity Minis, a show where I talk about pieces of media I find kind of interesting. Why do some of Nokotan's jokes work while others don't? Well, let's find out. Oh, by the way, before we start, if I catch anyone commenting how,
wow, it's weird how you're saying Nokotan isn't funny when you're painfully unfunny yourself,
I'm gonna shove this entire Ryu amiibo up your ass. Since I like spreading positivity and all that jazz, why don't we start with the jokes that work, and we'll gradually move on to the stuff that I didn't find all that great. One of Nokotan's greatest strengths is that it's a parody of the satirized slice-of-life comedy animes that I've become all too accustomed to nowadays. I think it does a good job making fun of a lot of the tropes found in these shows. There are a lot of gags you'll only be able to get if you're a fan of them, and as someone who spent the latter half of 2024 watching shitty rom-coms for losers, wink wink, nudge nudge, link in the description, I got a kick out of that. For example, I remember there being a joke about them just straight up skipping the entirety of the summer vacation arc. In any other show of this nature, summer vacation would have just been an excuse to draw some titties and some ass and then call it a day. It lures you into thinking that you're watching the typical seasonal schlock with characters forming a club and getting into boring high school shenanigans, but then it'll subvert your expectations by having a bomb go off during the school festival or have Nokotan smuggle crack over the Mexican border for the cartel. It's great at making you forget that you're watching Nokotan. It not only subverts slice of life, but anime as a whole. For instance, a lot of anime fans, myself included, pop a fucking blood vessel whenever they see CGI being used because it looks like Dookie Darwater ass. Nokotan knows this and uses bad CGI for all the deers in the anime besides Nokotan herself. I laugh my ass off whenever these little fuckers come on screen. It's always a delight to see them. I describe it as the same feeling you get when you see something like this on Smiling Friends. The mixed media property this show does is really underutilized, and honestly, I wish it had more of stuff like this. Besides the deer, there's occasionally live action footage of deer interspersed at random intervals, and at the end of the first batch of episodes, there's this hunter guy who kinda sorta has a different style when compared to the rest of the characters. I don't think they went hard enough in this department. I wanted to see more of that. One of Nokotan's biggest flaws is that I don't think it leans enough into the absurdity. That was kind of the show's whole selling point going in, that it would just be this batshit crazy off-the-wall show, but more often than not, it seems to ground itself in its satirization of slice of life. I think they don't go crazy enough to make a lot of these jokes stick. It lays the groundwork for a subversive punch by implementing a lot of chill scenes of the girls in the club room just kind of hanging out, but then instead of really laying in some haymakers, the show instead delivers the joke equivalent of this. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. As quoted by, not this fucking show. For every lull, there needs to be a hill or a peak just as high as the low point is low. Nokotan has scenes that reach this height, while others, well, they might give you a little... Oh my god, that was so gross. They might give you a little nose laugh, but that's it. A lot, and I mean a lot of scenes in this show will have me straight face gang, because they don't lean enough into the chaos that Noko is supposed to bring. Noko Shikanoko and Tarako Koshi are the walking chaos and the straight man. Shikanoko is supposed to bring the absurdism that's in the name of the game, absurdist comedy, and we laugh at Koshitan's reaction to it, at least ideally. This doesn't really work when the absurdism doesn't go far enough to make me laugh, and Koshitan's reaction to it isn't exactly helping things either. A huge issue I have with the show is that Koshitan kind of sucks at being a straight man, and I'm not just saying that because she's a lesbian. Oftentimes, it's easy to think that the joke characters in media are the funny ones, but it's so easy to forget that the straight man can oftentimes be just as funny or even sometimes funnier because of their reactions. Just look at someone like Hank Hill. Dale might be the walking chaos for King of the Hill, but honestly, I see more memes, gifs, and quotes from Hank than I'll ever see of Dale. Why is that? It's because Hank's reactions are great.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was the bathroom. Oh, good lord!
He's realistic, the voice actor's delivery is well timed, and it's relatable to us as audience members. How would we react to a situation like what Hank is experiencing? Koshitan does none of this. A majority of jokes that come from Koshitan are what I like to call the explained joke. A character will do X thing, which could be funny on its own without a reaction from Koshitan, but then Koshitan will explain the joke to the audience, thus completely killing anything funny about it.
Hey, Koshitan, look, I'm firing an AR-15 in the air to keep property value down in my neighborhood. Oh my god, I can't believe you're firing an AR-15 in the air to keep the property value down in your neighborhood! That's not something a high school girl does!
We've all had that awkward feeling you get when you tell a coworker or something a joke and they don't get it, so you gotta explain it to them and watch them go, oh, haha, I get it now. Imagine putting that on a screen. That's this show. I want to like Koshitan because unlike the other characters, which we'll get to, she actually has some semblance of depth, and there are certain line deliveries and punchlines that I do laugh at. I like a lot of the stuff with her being like a former delinquent, like that's cool, but her reactions suck. They're not funny. Why does she talk to the narrator? This show has a funny, random, fourth wall breaking narrator, the same one that Love is War uses. Little side tangent, really wish shows would stop trying to do what that show did. It was funny when they did it, then it got old.
Side note, the transition to summer coat occurs between April and May. Anyway, this is a comedy anime, so you don't need to worry too much about it.
You'd think a character like Nokotan would be the one to most frequently break the fourth wall. But no, in actuality, Koshitan is the one who not only speaks with the narrator the most, but she's the one who breaks the fourth wall the most as well. Meta humor is a big part of this show, and Koshitan is one of the main contributors of its mediocrity. By the 11th episode, when the characters spouted their 103rd "lol, we're in an anime" joke, the silver end of my shotgun was looking really tasty. Why do we give shows like this a pass when we constantly criticize shows like Rick and Morty for its meta humor? Is it just because standards are so low for comedy anime? And I'm not gonna sit here and deny that You Deer is incredibly fucking hilarious, like come on, but it's easy. It's so easy and free and makes it feel cheap in comparison to a well-written, well-executed gag that's so hard to find in this anime. Koshitan obliterates the fourth wall, constantly. Why? A straight man should never do that. It takes you right out of the show and removes all layers of relatability from her. I'd give this a pass if her delivery was at least good, but at least in the dub, it isn't. I don't want to get overly critical of dubbing performances because it's not like I have room to fucking talk.
You just don't get it, Armin.
But Koshitan's dub voice actor is very clearly using different equipment in comparisons to the other cast members, and her delivery is subpar at best.
Please, don't make me give you any more.
Why are you acting like I'm extorting you or something? And for crackers of all things?
It's easy to see how much taking just one character out of a comedy equation ruins the entire thing. But how good are the other characters? Nokotan's great, she's the star of the show, so I'm glad they at least got her right. When she's not funny, she's cute, and the dub voice actor did an amazing job at mimicking the tone used in the sub. When she's out and about with that stupid sideways 3 mouth, she sounds like a ditzy airhead that couldn't hurt a fly. But that tone of voice can quickly change when the situation calls for it, usually for the intended comedic effect. Nokotan as a character is basic, but she works for what she's intended to be, a walking ball of chaos that's the source of most of the show's good jokes. I'd be lying if I said the deer stuff didn't get a little old, like, we get it, antlers, haha. But it's the fucking deer anime, what did I expect? Nokotan and Koshitantan both have their problems, but I think with the right writing and right delivery, these two characters can be really funny and take this show out of just being good and take it into being great. But as some of you may noticed, I've deliberately avoided talking about an enormous elephant in the room. The other characters. They suck hard. The side characters in Nokotan offer very little to the comedy of the show, and more often than not can be summarized in literally one word. Rice. Shy. Stoic. Incest. Side characters in comedies can be a great way to add some spice to an already great cast of main characters, but it feels like they didn't even try to give these girls anything to work with. You know exactly how they're going to act in any given situation because they're one note, they're predictable. Sister girl, who I forgot the name of, is always going to lust after Koshitantan. Bashime, who I like in a guilty pleasure kind of way because she's silly, is always going to talk about rice. That's the joke. Every time. Repeated from when they get introduced till the end of the series. Depth for characters doesn't need to be restricted to the main cast. If you give side characters depth, even just the tiniest bit, you can utilize them outside of their gimmick and tell jokes that'll keep you guessing. Why should I laugh at sister lover glazing her sister's armpits or some shit and drooling like a 15-year-old pit bull when she's already done that 1,000 times before? Have her go gambling or something, go fishing, fuck it. Do something else! In conclusion, My Deer Friend Nokotan is a great show trapped within a mid-show. There's so much charm and humor underneath the predictable writing the show itself satirizes. It's like it took the negative aspects of writing from typical slice of life slop perpetuated every season and replaced it with the negative aspects of writing from American media. Things like one-note characters, a straight man that doesn't act like a straight man, and self-referential meta humor that gets old by the third time they do it. It could have crossed the road and became the classic absurdist comedy that everyone was expecting, but just like a deer, it froze in front of the headlights. Is the deer anime funny? The answer is sometimes, but not really.
You know, on second thought, she's actually kind of chill.
It's Dity, bitch! And you know we run the city, bitch! How much I gotta pay for a titty pic? Subscribe!